And if you can't tell from that, you can certainly tell from my accent that I'm from Arkansas. So bear with my accent, and hopefully we'll all learn a little bit. I do want to thank Pensacola State College for having us this year again. We've always looked forward and enjoyed coming down here and presenting various topics we think are of public interest and in the name of science, as well as just good intellectual growth. And I see a lot of familiar faces out here. I was watching some of you as you come in. Some of you are regulars, and that's great. Over the past 10 years, we've developed a little bit of a following. The Astronomy Club, the Escambia County Amateur Astronomers are great for supporting this and filling in when needs to be filled in, and we've had a very good relationship with them too in the past. And I want to thank all those folks and Dr. Wayne Wooden for all the assistance in bringing these back to Pensacola each year. Now we're green. We're getting there. Actually, we're teaching you the different colors of the spectrum. So we're getting educated at the same time we're getting this thing. No, we're still not quite there yet. We're getting close. That may be about as close as we're going to get. Do you wish parameters for this source be automatically adjusted? You bet. There we go. There we go. Okay. We got it. We got it. Thank you guys. I appreciate it very much. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes. This is such a vast auditorium. This is really an impressive place. And you know, I know that there's just hundreds of people way back in the back that I just can't see because it's dark, and that's what I will assume throughout this lecture. And by the way, those of you that know me, I don't really lecture. I want you to, we have a little bit of back and forth. I don't want you shouting at me too much, but we always have a little bit of back and forth, and I want y'all to have a lot of fun during this presentation. That's not fun, that's serious. I will take your cell phones away. You know, we live in an amazing place. We have a vantage point where we can go out anytime, our choice, and really try to put ourselves into perspective and try to humble ourselves. How many people have not done this? You've gone outside, you've had the best of intentions of doing something, and here you can't really see it, the contrast is low, but this fellow went outside with an easel and a lantern, and he was going to paint a beautiful landscape. And he's so overwhelmed with what he sees, he doesn't even know where to begin. The sky is literally overwhelming him. How many of you have been outside on a really dark night, caught by surprise, cold fronts come through, and you look up and you see so many stars and so much stuff that you literally just kind of have to sit down and you go, wow. Now, let me see a show of hands. Are all of you familiar with left brain, right brain stuff? Yes. You know, left brain is your logical thinking, mathematical problem-solving side, and right brain is your creativity side, and that which empowers you to grow as an individual with a personality. Nighttime is right brain. Daytime is left brain. And psychologists for many years have been working toward proving this, but it's very difficult to prove this. Plus, the left brain, right brain thing may just be a bunch of hokum anyway. But we do think that the left brain is the logical thinking, intuitive side of our thought process. The right brain takes all that and turns it into something that we enjoy and we create as human beings from it. We're one of the few creatures that can coexist with left-right brains and make things work for us. Stop and think about that. It really makes us different. So tonight we're going to be thinking about left brain, right brain a little bit because it's very important in our topic tonight. But me, I'm a right brain person, so we're going to go back tonight. Now, 300 years ago, only 300 years ago, we didn't really know what this stuff was. You know, we still had not figured out what planets really were. We didn't really know what the moon was. We knew what it did in the sky. We certainly didn't know what all these orbs that we see up there, for lack of a better explanation. In 1700, astronomers still thought that maybe the night sky was simply a dome, a black dome, and little pinprick holes were punched in that dome, and the light of the sun was shining through, and that gave us night, and the stars were nothing more than the light of the sun. And about 60 years ago, as recently as that, we began to see things that were moving in the skies. We saw lights, And science fiction had just been born right before that. We had some brilliant minds in science fiction. Some of them actually led the way for modern science. And in that science fiction, we began to see these lights, and we call them UFOs, unidentified flying objects. So shortly after that, about 10 years, we joined them. We sent stuff up ourselves. We launched Sputnik, and then we launched Mercury, Gemini, we went to the moon, and very shortly after that, we sent a spacecraft to Mars. So now we're up there among all of this stuff. We live on this one planet. This has been our vantage point for 3 million years. As a human race, we started out, we collectively, as probably, I mean, just intuitively you have to think, man, it had to be 2 people, okay, 3 million years ago. There are 2 people, probably a man and a woman, we're thinking, and they decided it was a good idea to have a lot of babies. So they started having babies, and the population started growing, and they did a really good job. We've got 7 billion people on the planet today. 7 billion people on this tiny world, our one Earth. Now, 7 billion people can cover the Earth, and right now, we're not quite at critical mass, people-wise. But we will be in a very short period of time. This planet, our one Earth, will not support too much, even a doubling, which should take place by the year 2055. We should have 14 billion people on planet Earth. Now, do you get along always with your spouse? Do you agree with everything that your boss tells you to do? If your neighbor puts up a fence, do you agree with them all the time? If they cut down a bush that you like, are you happy about it? No, you're not. And as a human race, this is human nature. This is the battle between the left brain, the right brain, and your neighbor. This is something that goes on. As we grow in population, we have a conflict between what we know and what we believe. There are some things that are true. The neighbor cut my bush down. There are some things that you know that it's not a good idea to upset your neighbor because he's got really bad kids. So you live with it. But as the world grows, the conflicts become more and more. And we have to learn to divide ourselves between what we believe in and what we know is fact. And that is the basis for what I'm going to tell you tonight. In 1566, Johannes Kepler, no, not Kepler, we'll go with Nicholas Copernicus. I'm going to leave Kepler out of this. I really wanted to put Kepler in here, but because we're going to talk about his telescope here in a minute. But Copernicus decided that we needed to reassess science. And you have to understand, up to this point, science really didn't exist. It was the most serendipitous thing that you could possibly imagine. It was a hodgepodge of ideas that had been put in and circulated for years and years. We had just been through the Dark Ages, and not much came out of that. But Copernicus came up with this idea based on observations that people had made with crude instruments for hundreds of years before, and he had decided that we were wrong, that the Earth and the Sun were not the center of the entire universe. Before Copernicus, it was pretty well assumed, particularly by the church, that the Earth was the center of the universe. And everything that we know, all those orbs you saw in that picture, everything goes around the Earth. And we were the center of attention. And it's still, to this day, it's kind of hard to get over that, isn't it? We still think that individually, you and me and everybody, we always kind of are self-centered. We don't want to be, but we are. Kepler showed us, though, and humbled us a little bit, that that's not the case. The sun, to him, was the center of the universe. And all things went around the sun, including the planets, and that included the planet Earth. Well, shortly after, about 40 years, Galileo, who we all know about, invented a thing called a telescope, putting 2 lenses together. And looking through his telescope, he made some revolutionary discoveries that confirmed what Copernicus had hypothesized all this time. He watched and he looked at the planet Jupiter, one of the brightest planets in the sky. And while he was watching it, he saw 4 satellites of Jupiter, the Galilean satellites we call them now, and he noticed that those satellites didn't stand still. While Jupiter moved through the sky, those little satellites orbited Jupiter, and he actually plotted their paths. And he was fascinated. He turned his telescope to the moon, and it wasn't a crystalline sphere like religion had taught him that it was. It was pocked full of craters. It was imperfect. It was an imperfect world in what had been a perfect laid out plan in the Catholic Church. He turned to the sun and looked at the sun for the first time through a telescope, and he saw sunspots. Now, sunspots had been seen before, but they had not been watched. And Galileo watched as the sunspots turned on the surface of the sun. And he thought, wait a minute, the sun is turning. It's not up there just a light in the sky. This thing is turning. And so maybe the earth is turning too, along with it. So, great news, man. Here, this guy revolutionized astronomy overnight, invented a simple little telescope. But he lived in the wrong neighborhood. He lived right down the street from the Vatican. So what does he do? He wanted to have a star party. He gets his buddies out. He says, come down here and look through my new telescope I got, guys. I just got it in and it's working great. I want to show you some stuff I found. And so he shows the higher deacons of the Catholic Church what he's discovered. They were not amused. They were not enlightened. As a matter of fact, they were so impressed with Galileo's discoveries, they put him under house arrest for the rest of his life. And he had no chance to move away. And we have been embroiled in this type of controversy ever since. That was the first run-in with religion versus science. And today we are overwhelmed with various religious beliefs, various faiths, various beliefs that have nothing to do with religion, and a lot of non-religion. And I want to tell you, as we go forward tonight, this is kind of, I have to tell you, this is kind of my 90 minutes of everything that I know. You know, and I try to compress. Getting to be on earth is the most complicated thing that you could possibly perceive. And as you go through this, please try to understand that everything you're about to hear is going to tell you how we got to be here right now tonight. Why did you come listen to me? It's because you're a thinking, intuitive person. How did you get to that point? Is that really simple? No, it's not. It's very, very complex, and we're going to step you through it. But one of the things that is in the way of our basic understanding and acceptance of what science does is various beliefs, and we call some of them religions. But I want to tell you here tonight, I don't care what your faith is. I don't care what you believe in. I don't care what direction your ideas of creation or God or lack of a God. I want you to maintain your beliefs. I really do, because I think that's what makes us intuitive individuals. I think it's very important, particularly in a modern society, that everyone has a belief. As long as you feel strongly about it, you should maintain it. What I want to do tonight is to give you science. I want to give you the scientific facts as they stand tonight, and let you build from that. You keep your belief, and you take what you hear from me tonight, and you make that belief better for you. Okay? So this is not about God. It's not about nature. It's not about humanism. It's about us. We're going to find out that we don't really live on one earth. There is no such thing as one earth. And it kind of flies in the face of religion. It does a little bit, but I want to show you a few things here in just a minute that may help you accept this just a little bit better. We know now that there are literally, not one earth, millions and millions of earths in space. This is no longer speculation. This is fact. We have begun to discover these worlds. The first one we discovered was in 1995. It is a small star that is out in the constellation of Pegasus. It'll be overhead about 3 o'clock in the morning. This previously unseen world was found visually from Earth. This was not a space telescope. It was found from Earth in 1995. And just to get us started, imagine that these people on 51 Pegasi, let's say 1964, on December 1st, 1964, okay? They have some engineers that have been working on a new project, just like crazy, these people that live on this planet. We're pretending now. This is not science fact, so we're pretending. And they have suddenly decided they're going to